Alright, I believe I'm streaming right now. Looks like I've got a good signal. Hello, everybody out there. If you're watching live, awesome. If you're tuning in once it's archived, awesome also. I'm just going to double check that it's streaming properly on my phone here. But yeah, this is just something I drew last time, not the actual drawing. I'm going to start with a completely blank page. Hello, Craig. Hello, Zach. Hello, Tomato Art. I like that. So I'm just double checking on something, but it seems to be streaming. If we've got folks jumping in here, hello J. Andrew. This is good. All right, looks like things are streaming properly. It looks like I've got a nice strong signal. I like seeing that. I'm the tiniest bit out of breath because I just ran down to my car down in the basement, 2 floors below, and was grabbing some pencil lead. Anyway, look at all these folks. Hello, Vicious, Pete, Happy Zero. Hello, Dibajos from Uruguay. Awesome. Glad to see an international following today. Hello, Atomicus. Tomato Art says, I'm an ordinary fan. I would like some advice as an artist. Well, without knowing exactly where you are, all I can really say for sure is just draw all the time. Just keep drawing. Force yourself to set aside some time to draw regularly, as often as you can, and draw from life as often as possible. But then don't get so locked into drawing from life that things get stiff. Really draw from a blank page so that you can get some energy and motion in there. So, my fiance got me this fantastic paper for Christmas. You can see what it's called right here. And in the past, I'd always used, I'll flip this around, smooth Bristol, which I love. But I'm really, really loving this paper. It's a little smoother, but it does not seem to let the pencil smudge too much or the ink bleed. So I really love that. Let's see. We've got Spooky from Canada. Atomicus says, congrats on 39,000 subs. Oh, awesome. Was it? Let's check that. I did not realize I crossed that today. I did cross that. Awesome. Well, thank you to everybody out there. You're all viewers, so I sincerely appreciate that. Couldn't get to 39,000 without viewers. Let's see. Can you do a RoboCop drawing later? Maybe at some point. Yeah, maybe. I do like RoboCop quite a bit. Today I'm going to draw a monster. It's just what I feel like drawing. And we'll just sort of go from there. Just going to block in a few things here. And then we'll get this on the road, right? So I'm drawing an existing Godzilla enemy, which happens to be a 3-headed dragon. Goes by the name Ghidorah, or King Ghidorah. So that's what I'm going for right now, and he's a hefty beast. Just blocking in some of the shapes here, and you're gonna sort of see. I mostly do inking on this channel, but I thought it would be interesting to just sort of work completely from scratch, just so that you could sort of see that process. But don't worry, I'll be taking plenty of questions and stuff too, so feel free to shout out anything that you want to have addressed. Let's see. The Discord chat has gone well. Yeah, Discord's great. There's a Discord server for Comic Tropes. I've got the permanent link on my Comic Tropes Twitter account. So if you go to @CTropes, you'll see a pinned link to a Discord server. A lot of great conversation going on there at all times. So definitely recommend checking that out. Just sort of blocking in this this big beastie. And I'm a big fan of like just sort of kaiju in general, so I'm really hopeful that they do King Ghidorah justice in the upcoming American Godzilla sequel. That could be very, very cool. I dig Mothra, but probably not as fun to draw. Yeah, Mothra I might do at some point. Let's see. The Netflix Godzilla enemy had a really interesting take on Ghidorah as a god from a separate dimension. Oh, all right. I haven't seen that yet. I've heard mixed reviews. You know, some people say they don't care for it at all. Some people are telling me they really loved it. So I don't know what to make of all that. I'm curious to see it as a Godzilla fan, but it's really mostly a question of having the time. That's always my challenge. I never feel like I've got enough time to do anything these days. Kind of frustrating, actually. And there have been several sort of variations over the years on Ghidorah's design, but mostly really just to the exact details of how his head is drawn. It's always sort of like a Chinese dragon, more or less, and then you know, he's always sort of got the same stubby body with two huge wings, no arms, and big stumpy legs, and scales. He's got scales. He doesn't really have musculature per se. He's mostly just sort of beefy, but he generally has sort of a chest, stomach, and legs. Let's see. Time sucks. Yeah. Let's see. We've got a bunch of other people. Hello to TARDIS, Ryder, Gantris, Let's Rodeo, Ethan Brewer, Jacob Meyer, Happy Zero, Flynn Juice, Jew. Yeah. Been marathoning comic tropes. Eric Whitehurst. What do you think of Peter David's writing? Most of the time I like it. Sometimes I think he's a little too jokey. I wish he would, you know, have the courage to tone that down, just because I don't think he needs to always be that funny. Because I tend to like his slightly more serious things. I liked a lot of his Hulk run. I liked X Factor when he had Multiple Man running a detective agency. I thought that was pretty good. And the death of Captain Jean DeWolf was very well done as well. So I like a fair amount of his stuff. I'm not going to pretend that he's my absolute favorite writer, but I generally like what Peter David does. Dragon heads are weird, you know? I mean, it's all fictional, but you gotta be consistent. I tend to loosely start with almost a horse-type shape and just go from there, hope for the best. If I'm a little quiet, it's just because it takes a while to sort of rough stuff in as compared to when you're just sort of like inking. Can just sort of make stuff up a little bit more. But anyway, let's see what we got for questions. Thank you, Jacob, for the compliment. SpikeX says, another Canadian here. Glad to catch this live. I've been revisiting some older DC series. Any opinions on John Ostrander's non-Suicide Squad series, like his run on Spectre or Martian Manhunter? You know what? I'll be honest. I've only read like a few issues here and there, and mostly that was back in like the late 80s, early 90s. So I feel like my memory's not too good. If I was going to review it, I'd have to refresh my memory. I remember thinking he was a decent writer. It wasn't always a name that I remembered. I had to sort of like force myself to remember. Definitely my favorite stuff by him was Suicide Squad. for whatever that's worth. Okay, we got that. Oh yeah, and he's got a big double tail. Let's see. Gotta throw that in here somewhere. Comes generally out like this. And then a second one will have curve around just to try to give this piece some depth, I guess. We'll see. We'll see. All right, what else? Peter David's Aquaman is pretty good. I'm glad they're putting out trade paperbacks for it now. Yeah, I'm not surprised. The movie's doing gangbusters and all. Time to hear Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult. Heck yeah, that's pretty good. Gotta say, I love how Chris manages to find a new silly way to start every video. Thanks, Flynn. I'll be honest. I love starting it with some humor, but I also feel that, like, oh, hi, you caught me doing this. I do feel like it's starting to run its course. Like, that no matter what I say, it's a little bit predictable. So I'm trying to think of, like, what else I could do there. I feel like being predictable, yeah, it can sort of hurt the humor. Like, you want somebody anticipating a joke, but not the exact joke. So anyway, something I'm thinking of, like, trying to vary up, but I'll also be honest with y'all, I don't have a better idea yet, so we'll see. We'll see. Give this a little more curvature. Yeah. Since I haven't inked it yet, I can sort of play with it a little. I like that. Sort of rough in what I'm going to do with the scales. Come back to that. All right, any other good questions? Let's see. I've been trying to read some recent DC mainstream comics, don't understand the difference between the Batman series, All-Star, Detective, and just Batman. Any suggestions to read? Find an artist or a writer that you like and just go with that. I would say don't get too hung up on the continuity at first. That'll make sense later. How do I feel about Howard Chaykin? Read his new series, Hey Kids Comics? No, I haven't read his new series. I think I kind of went over how I feel about him in my episode about Howard Chaykin. Talented. Not always my personal cup of tea. Feel like maybe a little bit Captain Tryhard there, trying to be controversial, but I'm not 100% sure. It may just be where his sensibilities lie. It's all right. I haven't done a tropes on Roy Thomas. I definitely will at some point. Definitely will. Probably sooner than later. No Justice, No Peace says, I'm curious who's my favorite geek nobility. Will Wheaton, Rick Green, Felicia Day. Yeah, I mean, I don't know Rick Green, but I like a bunch of what Will and Felicia have done. I would say that if I have to choose somebody, I'll go with Patton Oswalt. Unless Dan Harmon counts. I love Dan Harmon, man. Thank you, John. Thank you, John Dupree, for the compliment. Let's see. The predictability kind of works for it, kind of like you're in on the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. And I wanted that, and I think we have that right now. I just don't know if I want to do it forever, you know? Let's see. Spike recommends John Ostrander's Spectre. Okay. Jim Corrigan's journey to learn forgiveness and compassion is a wonderful character arc for a horror series. Well, I do like that idea. Yeah, all right. Any plans for an episode about Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol in time for the upcoming live action series? I won't tell. Yeah, that might be a reasonable guess. Let's see. If 7-Eleven was rebooted, what would you do? Nothing. It's perfect as is. Oh my god, the ridiculousness of 7-Eleven. Oh, that's my personal favorite, like, old golden age ridiculous thing that I've come across. Like, there's nothing can quite compete with how bizarre the idea behind uh 7-Eleven is. It just doesn't make any sense when you try to break it down. Alright. I'm getting close to where I want to be, where I can maybe actually just switch over to sort of inking some of this. I just realized that I pretty much always have already sort of got a piece of artwork that I've penciled that I really like, and I don't always share with you my sort of penciling process. So I just figured I'd do that just to vary it up, you know? So what all have you guys been into lately? I've been into like watching a fair amount of true crime documentaries and listening to true crime podcasts for whatever reason. That's what's been interesting me lately. But I'm always interested in what everybody's up to. All right, what's your take on how the new Hellboy film is looking now that the trailer is out? Boy, I don't love to do too much in terms of early reactions. I like to let a work speak for itself. But I will say that trailer didn't really do much for me at all. Like that didn't. I didn't get it, man. I don't get what they were going for with it. It was a weird choice for a song. Like, yeah, basically, I just don't know what they're going for. So we'll see. I want it to be good because I love Hellboy, you know. And I'm sure that Mike Mignola is on board, but I don't get it. I don't get what they're going for. I really like this pen. What other questions? Doom Patron. I finally watched The Thin Blue Line, the 1988 documentary about a cop killing in Dallas. You know, I haven't seen that yet, L.S. Krieger, so I need to. Most underrated superhero. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on that one, I'm sure. Underrated. I don't know. I kind of like Darkhawk. I feel like you could do something more with him. We'll see. You know, I read a lot of mainstream comics in the 90s, so a lot of like those 90s characters sort of appeal to me. The Dan Ketch Ghost Rider and the even Sleepwalker to some degree. You know, just all those characters that were coming out in the 90s that have kind of been forgotten because their stories were only okay. If that makes sense. So yeah, I just have a weak spot for that. Moon Knight. Sure. Garth Ennis, thoughts? Um, I did a Garth Ennis review as like something like my second episode, and I was still definitely finding my way with what I was going to do with comic tropes. So I don't think it's my best episode, but I enjoyed a lot of Garth Ennis stuff. I enjoyed his work on Hellblazer and Punisher, but I also started to get excuse me, I also really liked Preacher when it was coming out. It hasn't aged with me as well as I would have sort of hoped, because I really liked that stuff when I was younger. It's a little cynical, which I think appeals more to teenagers than adults. So I like his ideas. I don't always love his executions, but I like him more than who I like Garth Ennis more than Mark Miller. Kind of a similar type of writer in my opinion, but I do like Garth Ennis a little more. I think he's got a better sense of humor. Do I know who the 3D man is? Yeah, well, at least the one in the Marvel Universe, I know who the 3D man is. If it's somebody else, then I'm not sure. Let's see. Isi Imhunde says, have I ever heard of the manga anime Baki the Grappler? It's one of the best martial arts related things that you can ever watch. Definitely have not read it or seen it, but I feel like it does ring a bell, actually. So someday I'll have to look that up. Patrick asks if have I read much Milestone comics? Yeah, I read all of them when they came out. What was it like? Static Shock, Icon, Hardware, Blood Syndicate, I think was one. Cool idea. Only a couple of the characters that I really feel were like that strong. Static Shock was one of the best. I loved the idea of Icon, which was basically, what if Superman, as in an alien, had been black, had looked like a black man and been raised by black parents. Like, what would the differences be? That's a pretty cool premise. He's still the sort of the same hero, the same super powerful guy, but obviously he's going to have a different take on society from just like, what he's been able to observe. Yeah, very strong idea that definitely deserves to be looked at, because there haven't been too many experiments quite like the Milestone line. Hello, Townsville Tale. Let's see. Have I ever done any videos on Neil Gaiman's Sandman? No, not Sandman. I did do Neil Gaiman's 1602, so talked about him a little there. Why was color in comics from the early 2000s and 90s so saturated? Oh, I'm mainly the technology that was available and how new people were to using that technology. So we'd gone from actually using paints and stuff to code what books should look like to digital coloring techniques, and there was a learning curve, and there was for both printers and artists. So I think it's as simple as that, really. Let's see. Anything you'd like drawn? I'm not sure what that's written. Let's see. Most anticipated movie for 2019. You know what? I feel like I haven't really looked too closely at what's coming out this year. That's a great question. I'm a huge movie fan. What am I looking forward to that's going to be coming out in 2019? Boy, I'd have to see a list. Obviously, I can think of like the superhero stuff that's coming out, but generally, I'm while I like superhero movies, I'm a little more excited about like completely original ideas. So I just need to see what some of the auteurs out there are getting lined up. Anybody out there got a favorite director? And if so, what makes them your favorite? I would say some of my favorites include Stanley Kubrick. See anything he does. See anything Paul Thomas Anderson does. I generally like Sam Raimi. Let's see. Isn't Blackjack an Osamu Tezuka comic about a rogue surgeon? Basically, yes. Yeah. Blackjack's really interesting. See ya, Atomicus. Let's see. Scott Harris says, I love all the new X-Men videos. Any chance to cover the different villains? The Rogues Gallery is second. Yeah, probably not right now. Cool idea. I'll probably have a complete episode about just Rogues Galleries in general, like which characters have ended up having the best enemies and why they're the best enemies. So, Akira Kurosawa, great choice for a great director. Yeah. Let's see. What's going to be a better film, Bloodshot or the Spawn remake? Yeah, I don't know if Spawn looks that good at all. Like, I don't think Bloodshot looks like anything special, but I feel like Vin Diesel can at least get some money behind it, and we'll try. But I don't know that either of those are necessarily going to be great. Wes Anderson, yeah, he does really good stuff. To Edgar Wright, these are directors who I'll definitely see everything they make that you guys are mentioning. Welcome back, Craig. Campanella, Argentinian director. Oh, cool. Yeah, right on. Speaking of M. Night Shyamalan, that's an interesting choice. Spike Jonze, yep. Denis Villeneuve. Looking forward to seeing what he does with Dune. Interesting choice. I really like Villeneuve. I thought that his what do you call it? Just a little tired tonight. His Blade Runner movie was fantastic. That movie wasn't like a huge success, I guess, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was so well done. So yeah, and of course The Arrival was a really rock solid movie. I say of course, I don't know. Opinions vary, but I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. Pierre Morel. I'll have to look that up. John Carpenter, of course. Yeah, John Carpenter was great up through like maybe I don't know. Like throughout the 80s though, everything he did was perfect. And the 70s. The 70s and 80s, everything he did was fantastic. What are your thoughts on the Battle Angel Alita movie by James Cameron? Well, he's only producing it. It's directed by what's his nuts? Robert Rodriguez. I don't know, man. It looks kind of generic to me. Is that mean? That's just... It doesn't excite me too much. And the way they did the sort of anime eyes all huge kind of creeps me out. Although, I think that they may have toned it down based on like the first and second trailers. But that's just a guess. I don't know. It might end up being fun. I feel like there's nothing in it that like strikes me as all that original or exciting about it. I think it would have probably been huge if it came out 10 years ago. It's probably just a little late. We'll see though, we'll see. Coen Brothers, yep, I'll see anything by the Coen Brothers. Ridley Scott sort of hit and miss for me, but some of what he's done is great. Lynch, Cronenberg, totally in there. Gus Van Sant, yeah, I like most of what he's done. These are definitely some really solid directors. You guys have some great taste out there. Which Marvel movie would you have David Lynch direct? It would have to be something that tends towards either the surreal or a real contrast between mundane life and sort of the hidden underbelly of that, or something along those lines. I think that he probably could have done something interesting with, say, Doctor Strange, maybe the X-Men, especially if it's focusing a lot on Professor X specifically. I think David Lynch could have done something interesting with, as well as anybody that's like a superhero more like in the suburbs as compared to in a big city. So I don't know who you'd use there, but like maybe somebody that's on the New Warriors or something like that. That could have been interesting. Do I have a favorite comic writer these days? Yeah, I've got several, but apparently I'm a little bit alone on this, but I think Rick Remender is fantastic. I don't know. I really like his sensibilities. And Ed Brubaker, because I really love crime comics, and he constantly sort of has a way of surprising me with what he does. So, big fan of Ed Brubaker. Yeah. And I miss Ed Brubaker working at Marvel. I thought his run on Captain America was the best Captain America run out there. Don't say that lightly. Yeah, he just did my favorite take on him. David Lynch should do the Max. Yeah, I can see that working. Of the Vision. Yeah, the Vision. If they took Tom King's 12-issue series, The Vision, and they gave it to somebody like David Lynch, that could honestly be something special. He probably doesn't have a lot of interest in doing that. I think he likes his own ideas, but I think it could work. Hello, No Name, and Atlas Rock, and Scott Harris, and What Is This, and Eric. Lots of people in here that... Oh, Gareth Evans, totally, man. The Raid 2 were great. I still haven't seen his movie on Netflix. What's it called? Something like The Apostle. I definitely need to make time for that. It's so frustrating not to have time to see stuff that's like on a streaming service that you can like pull up right at home. But I legit don't, because like if I have some free time, like I could be doing it now, but I'm thinking, well, I haven't connected with my audience lately. I want to draw. I want to try to improve at drawing. So I'm making choices, and sometimes movies, unfortunately, aren't getting the time that I wish I could give them. But that's what you do to just try to be productive, I guess. I'm sure everybody else out there has made sacrifices on some of their favorite stuff just to get a task accomplished that's important to them. And these days, growing comic tropes is very important to me. I feel like it maybe could get bigger. We'll see, we'll see. But if it can, and I could be sort of my own boss and develop a lot more content under the comic tropes name, I would love to do that. I would really love to do that. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, I'm going to switch for a little bit and get working on some scales, which is going to be really monotonous the way I'm planning on doing it. But that's just life. So I'll try to take some questions. Real talk. Red-eyed or black-eyed Gumby? Ooh, I think black-eyed is actually a little less creepy for me, but that's just me. Best Batman comic? I don't know. Yeah, White Knight. Somebody suggests White Knight was great. I'd have to think about that. This is not Fin Fang Foom, but this is a gigantic dragon. This is King Ghidorah. From Godzilla movies. An enemy of Godzilla. So, yeah. talking about the Oscars, somebody has seen that movie Roma. Is it really that good? I don't know. I want to see Roma. That's sort of a priority for me. I generally liked Alfonso Cuarón's films, and Roma's getting a lot of good buzz, so I'm very curious about that one. I'm very curious. Hello, Mandela Butterfly. What piece of media did you find the scariest? You know what? I probably got scared more easily when I was younger, and when I read the book Red Dragon, which was, I want to say that might have been the first book with Hannibal Lecter. It's hard to remember now, but I'm pretty sure Red Dragon was the first. I read that, and I was just beginning high school, and just the idea of a guy who basically looked at family photographs and then would sort of spy on them from the woods and break in while they're sleeping in suburbia. It really freaked me out because it felt very real. I was working at Walgreens at the time. We had a photo development center at my house. There was a glass slider on a balcony, and then behind that was all woods. So I could just sort of imagining somebody looking in at night when we have the lights on and I couldn't see out into the woods. So that idea really freaked me out as a kid because it felt just dangerously real, if that makes sense. So that one really freaked me out a lot. I'm trying to think of what else really freaked me out. I'd be curious what other folks have to say. What's freaked you out the most? I would also say that Jaws, just because I saw it at a young enough age, really disturbed me quite a bit. That also felt like something that could kind of happen. I grew up on the ocean. I grew up in a beach town south of Boston. And the idea of a shark being out in the water, as soon as you get out to a certain depth, you can't really see. And just felt very, very possible / plausible that there could be a shark that was hungry and a little crazy. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Mandela. Really appreciate that. That's kind of you. What pens do you use for inking and what paper do you use to draw? Fair question. I've been lately using this paper, number 234 Paris paper. Very smooth, and I really, really like it. So you can see all the details there. 108 pound. Very nice, very smooth, does not seem to bleed. There's a lot to like about it. A lot to like about it. New to me, but I love it. And then other than that, I'll still use sometimes Bristol. And then for pens, mostly I'm using various brush pens and then Pigma Microns these days. I always keep a nib and a brush and ink nearby, but just don't tend to use that a whole lot because it takes a little bit longer. You do get a better result, I would say, with the brush and the nib. So definitely nothing against those tools. Just me being eager to keep moving. Cool question. Body horror freaks you out, guy? Let's see. Ellis says H.P. Lovecraft and the Mouth of Madness movie with Sam Neill. Totally get it. Existential dread and maybe creepy crawlies for KNT. Yep. Ever read some of the classics like Bram Stoker's Dracula or Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? Both. I read both of those when I was I would say around high school age. I read both of them. I was into reading a lot of classic literature at the time. Between the two, which did I prefer? Let me think for a second. I'm just trying to go back. I think I found the mythology of Dracula more interesting, but looking back at it now, I find the writing of Mary Shelley, I think, superior to that of Bram Stoker. for whatever that's worth. Probably not much. Sorry, I've gone quiet. Just sort of vegging out to drawing whatever I've got here. Let me. I know I bounce around a lot, so I don't know. Maybe it's frustrating to watch me bounce around instead of sort of finish certain areas. It's just how I stay interested in drawing. Be curious if any of y'all like do that too, or if you find like my sort of way of doing it like a little aggravating. Are you sure Mothra hasn't fought Godzilla more? More? I don't know. I guess I've not really counted it out, but Mothra is usually more of an ally to Godzilla. Any tips on story writing? Me and my friends are writing comics called Neuro Comics. I would say that like with writing, you just have to force yourself to write pretty much every single day. And don't try to be precious about it. Don't try to be perfect when you're writing. Just get down that first draft, man. You got to just get your ideas out there. Don't worry if the dialogue isn't right or if you've got like the plot somewhat out of order. Just keep writing. Make yourself write a certain number of pages every day, because the real work in writing is rewriting. And you can only do that once you get all your ideas down, and then you can have some objectivity. You can look at your own story and go, oh, I can think of a better way to do this. Have I seen the current Humble Bundle for Dynamite? I haven't, Heinz. What is it? What's the current Humble Bundle? Humble Bundle. What's the current Humble Bundle? What's the current Humble Bundle? Just having fun. Heinz has a link there. All right, I guess I'll show it, but I don't love showing links, folks. Tips, practice. Yeah, see Kim has it. Mumbo Bundle. Is Clifford the Big Red Dog a kaiju? No, he's not big enough. Clifford the Big Red Kaiju Dog. I like that. So what's something good that's going on in your life, folks? Let's just try like a moment of positivity. Like list something like good that's happened for you lately, or somebody that's close to you, or something that at least makes you happy. It doesn't need to be anything deep. Like if you're just happy because you like found an episode of a TV show you like, that's fine. Just tell me something positive, man. I need some positivity in my life. Tell me something good. I'll look up in just a sec. Let's see. Something good. All right. My comics. Just paid off my truck. Nice. 2 years early. Hey. Very nicely done, Sanity. If you guys can pay off a car early, that is so good. Because I'll tell you, I work in that industry. And, I mean, a lot of us do need cars. Not everybody, but a lot of us need a car. And it's not a great investment. It loses money very quickly. So the faster you can pay it off, the less you're truly paying for it. And all the better for you, for your credit, etc. So that's nice to hear. I found a quarter. Hey, nothing wrong with free money, right? Somebody said you were handsome? Dude, nice. Somebody said their leg is feeling better, I think. My 6-year-old is starting to draw and she is slowly getting good. Hey, I always like adding comics and action figures to my collection. Me too, man. Me too. That's so much fun. Over a year and a half of that, I was losing hope it ever would. Okay, that must be about the leg, I think. Finally got off work in time for another live stream. Welcome, Clay. I started taking cold showers after years of wanting to, but couldn't get myself to do it. What's a cold shower supposed to do for you? I've never heard that. Like, you say that like it's a positive thing. Is it supposed to be good for your body? I've never heard that. Let's see. Jay Andrew says, I've got a new writer on my project who's someone who's a working writer. Way to go, man. That's really nice to hear. Let's see. Sanity's talking about his money that he's got now. There you go. Yep, pay off what, your house or something? I just adopted a female dog named Willow from the Humane Society. She is great. Hey, congratulations, LS. Oh, man, I love animals. I really do. I feel like they just add so much to our lives. And while I'm sort of more of a cat person, actually, I love how unconditionally dogs love us. It's fantastic. We just about don't deserve them. They're just wonderful. Congratulations. These are some really positive things to hear. I love it. Glad to see folks out there are able to be positive. I find that like one of my biggest challenges in life. To stay positive. Just found out about the channel and I'm loving it. Well, I love your support. Thank you. I know I missed a few things. John Dupree says losing weight. Man, that's my biggest challenge. Cold showers open up your capillaries or something and promote muscle growth. Huh. Big snow means no school tomorrow for TARDIS Rider. Congrats. Humble Bundle is a donation-based charity service where you get a bundle of digital media based off of how much you donate. The Dynamite one gets you comics. Proceeds go to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. Did not realize that. That does sound fantastic. I like that. Hey, Mitchell, of course I remember your name. Welcome back. Cold showers. Wow. Huh. Whew. Well, this all sounds like really positive, folks. I love it. Thank you very much for the dose of positivity. King Ghidorah. Too bad King Ghidorah doesn't have a metal song, unless there's one that I don't know about. Godzilla has a metal song by Blue Oyster Cult. I love it. King Ghidorah deserves one. Somebody out there that's like in a band, make a song about how badass King Ghidorah is. I feel like Ghidorah is the one that trashes Godzilla the most, like comes the closest to beating him. Usually the only way Godzilla can beat King Ghidorah is by teaming up with other kaiju. Like Mothra or... I don't know, I feel like Rodan has teamed up with him to go against King Ghidorah. Don't drink anything with sugar in them and you will lose weight. Oh, that makes sense. I'm writing a Last Stand Spider-Man comic with Ultimate Web Slinger on Instagram. Check him out. He does comics based off of Spider-Man PS4. Well, that sounds fun. MF Doom makes King Ghidorah songs. Nice. Did not know that. Gonna look that up right now. MF Doom. I know MF Doom. I'm just saying, like, I didn't know that he did King Ghidorah. I miss Japan right now. Oh, yeah, look at all this. Dude, that's awesome. Biollante, Gigan. Oh. Huh. This is giving me a bunch of stuff to listen to after I stop this live stream. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You have made my evening, sir. Or ma'am. Who said that? Vicious E. Biollante is a fantastic design. Totally agree. With a purposeful grimace and a terrible scowl, he tears the city. High tension was down. That's me just reading Guy Fellas. Mike Line is fire. You're welcome. All right. King Ghidorah was originally a space monster. He was later retconned as a creature that was created by time travelers. Just noticed the stream has no dislikes. Oh, don't jinx me. I'm sure it will. My videos do get dislikes. And I'll be honest, I'm like always confused. I'm like, I don't know. Like, what are people finding so objectionable about my content? Like that they're like downvote. I don't know. But plenty of my videos get unlikes. It's fair, you know. I don't expect everybody to agree with my opinion. I'm just sort of surprised that they're like mad at like free content or something, you know. It feels very easy to just sort of state why you disagree. The dislike, I don't know, comes across as jealousy, but I don't want to pigeonhole that. You never know. That's what it seems like, though. Whoa! Self-Aware Wolf says, with a super chat, so I gotta read this. I'm just practicing art more, and I think I'm finally starting to have something that I can be proud of. I'm the 6-year-old from before, I guess. The 6-year-old from before? What do you mean, 6-year-old from before you guess? Do you just mean like you feel like you've taken a big jump forward lately? I swear, all you have to do is just keep drawing, and no matter what skill level you're starting at, you are going to improve. Like, it's you just will. Even if you don't see it yourself, others will. That's just the truth. Boom. Sorry. Every once in a while I want to sing, folks, and then I remember that like if I do and like YouTube finds it, I get demonetized, and that really frustrates me. Hasn't happened yet, but I know other people that it's happened to, so can't even sing on my own live streams. What a world. Probably people can be jealous of anything. Yeah, maybe. I've disliked videos that had offensive content masked as something reasonable in the title. Well, that's probably fair, I guess. Yeah. Oh, okay, let's see. Self-Aware Wolf says, oh no, nothing deep. Some guy before just said his 6-year-old was improving at art. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, yeah, you're just comparing yourself to that. Congratulations on the growth, man. That's really cool. All right, I'm not talking enough tonight, I guess. Um, Seems like everyone is fascist nowadays. I don't even know what that means. I don't know. I'm drawing while watching this. I feel like we're having a jam session. Then we are. If that's what it feels like, then we are. Happy to jam with anybody that wants to draw. Drawing is the best. Drawing is the best. I love drawing. I always have. Wish I embraced it even more though, like when I was like, I don't know, a teenager or something. I feel like I could have improved a lot faster if I just embraced it more earlier. But you kind of need encouragement for that, right? Like, just not just people telling you you're good, but people telling you like that it can be a viable career. So if anybody out there like is wondering like, can art be a viable career? Yeah, absolutely. Don't give up on it. I'm serious. Like, I wish I had fairly supportive parents, but I don't think they really were artists, and I don't think they ever like suggested to me like to go to like say an art school or anything like that. And I just sort of wish they had, but then I wouldn't be where I am today, right? So can't really complain. Just wish I'd seen where that could have gone at an earlier age. That would have been interesting. Have you watched that Alex Toth documentary I sent you via Twitter? I did. It was fantastic. I didn't know he was such a grouchy old man. That was interesting. Hello, Nick. Let's see. Sneak Eye says, I don't really have time to draw or do anything. For me, it's been school, chores, homework 24/7, including weekends. It's miserable. I feel you, man. I feel you. As a kid, I worked a lot too. I had, like a part-time job at Walgreens. I also had 2 paper routes, and it just didn't seem to leave me any real free time. So something's got to give. Like, I'm not saying that for you specifically, but like plenty of us out there will like watch a little TV, movies, video games. If you really want to make it, like some of that's good. Some of it counts as inspiration. Some of it counts as mental health. But some of it's also got to give if you want to like find a way, because we all are working or doing school. We're all doing it. Like I'm putting in more than 40 hours at my current job. There's no question. But then I try to like make comic tropes every week, so something gives. And that's not like me telling anybody specifically that like you're doing it wrong. It's hard. It's damn hard. But the thing is, you never know where your break is going to come from, Because everybody will sort of like have that lucky break with like somebody that like discovers or supports them, like, financially. And you never know exactly when that's going to hit, when that's going to land. So you just sort of have to keep working so that you're ready when that does happen. It'll seem to be overnight to everybody on the outside, but of course it'll just be because you were ready for it. Or maybe I'm just talking out my ass. Who knows? Am I drawing this for a patron? No, just sort of doodling. Nice imbrications. Imbrications. That's too big a word for me, my friend. Hello, Koala. I don't even know exactly how far I'll go with this. I'm just sort of doodling. I just wanted an excuse to hang out and talk with all of you, y'all. It's been a little while since I did a live stream, so just felt like it was time. Chris, what is the most underrated X-Men run of all time? Well, I mean, that's a good question. It would have to be something that's like, lesser read that I think is good. And personally, I felt like that was the Uncanny X-Force run by Rick Remender. I know it's called X-Force, but it's X-Men. So that's my opinion for best underrated. I feel like it didn't sell as much as some of the other things, and I feel that it belongs up there. I have that model kit. They made that wings too small. This isn't based on a specific model kit if you were talking about King Ghidorah, but I think he has had model kits, so that's what I'm guessing you're talking about. How's X month going so far? Creatively, very rewarding. I wouldn't say that the show is gaining subscribers, but I haven't had any videos that have been huge hits with big numbers in a while. So overall, I'm actually making significantly less on YouTube these days, which is fine. I've got a full-time job. I would like to grow it and see if it can go anywhere. Right now, that's probably not very realistic, but we'll see. Things could change. Anyway, so it's going all right. The latest video is definitely getting some pretty good videos, some pretty good views. So that's nice to see. Certainly appreciate all the support. Hello, watchful and harmonious subscriber. All the X puns are exasperating. Yeah. Looking forward to Uncanny 11. I haven't read that. Let's see. The X month was a great idea. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. That's awesome. John Byrne's X-Men are my favorites. That's cool. Totally respect that. When you started drawing? I guess I've sort of been drawing my whole life, so it's really hard to say. I definitely doodled a lot as a kid. But I don't know that I really took drawing all that seriously until somewhere after I graduated college. I'm talking in the 2000s. It's been over 20 years that I've been drawing pretty serious, but not consistently either, All right. Let's see. I'll take a look for some more questions here. What do we got? Who's my favorite character to draw? Hellboy, probably, but I also really enjoy drawing Captain America and Batman. Will you do a Doom Patrol episode? Yes. Very soon. Over 20 years ago, I did my first album cover. That's awesome, J. Andrew. Let's see. I gotta go. Will you be posting this? Well, I mean, it'll go into the archive, so technically, yeah. I love the variety of comics you cover. Thank you. Definitely give some effort at trying to keep that variety up. I want to expose people to all sorts of different kinds of comics, and just I'd get bored talking about the same thing personally, so that's just the way the show is. I'll always be sort of talking about different types of comics. But other questions? What do you use to do these streams? Just open source software, OBS it's called. So that's it. Nothing fancy. Anybody can get it. Anybody can use it. Do you have any art idols? Yeah, I mean they sort of vary, but I really like Will Eisner, Alex Toth. I like guys that use like sort of a very very few lines in their artwork. I really admire that. Corey Walker doesn't do a lot, but somebody that I really admire. Who else? Sean Phillips. A lot of the time. Yeah, I don't know. I tend towards the realistic in terms of what I really like looking at, and then I like people that know how to do things with as few lines as possible. That always impresses me. Anybody else looking forward to any of the upcoming sort of comic book shows? What do we have coming up? We've got things like Umbrella Academy, The Boys. What else do we have? There's some other stuff coming out. Anybody excited for any of that? I'm stoked for The Boys. Garth Ennis. Google Emu's feet right now. You'll see what I mean. Okay, that's something else. Chris, what was a comic book you really liked but got canceled? Oh, that's a cool question. Let's see. What was a comic that I really liked that got canceled? Oh. Well, when I was younger, and it was going downhill, but it really bummed me out when G.I. Joe got canceled. Now, the cool thing is, it's come back, like specifically the version by Larry Hama, because to me that's what G.I. Joe is. I definitely was a big G.I. Joe fan as a kid. So, yeah, I always really liked that comic, and it bummed me out to see it go away. I'm really excited that it's come back. Trying to think of other things. A lot of stuff that I liked just sort of more like fizzled out, and I lost interest before it was canceled. The Tick. I really wish Ben Edlund had wanted to stay with the Tick longer. That would have been cool. Thank you, Seahots. That's very kind of you. I always appreciate a super chat. Very, very kind. Very, very kind. King Ghidorah's history. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, Chris. Living in the same city as some major publishers and all kinds of comic creators, do you ever run into anyone you recognize while out and about? No. I've never. I would say that there are more creators down in Portland than Seattle. But there are, I think, a bunch in Seattle. But no, I've never bumped into anybody. I mean, at conventions, but like not at out and about now. Now, I don't want to like toot my own horn, but since this is my channel and all, and you asked, I actually have gotten recognized a few times just out and about, and I'm not talking just at like comic book stores, because yes, I've been recognized at several comic book stores or conventions, only a little bit, not a massive amount, but I'm not completely surprised at that, right? Because that's the audience. Like, I'm talking about comics. Like, I'm not surprised that a comic book reader might recognize me. What I'm surprised at is like, just like being at like a restaurant or a movie theater, and having someone go like, "You're the comic tropes guy," and I'm like, I am, thank you for watching. But I never expect that. Like, why would I expect that? Think about it. Like, my channel doesn't even have quite 40,000 subscribers out of like more than 6 billion people on the planet. That is really, really weird. But that has happened a few times. So that's always like really sort of flattering, and just glad that there are some people out there watching the show. So, but no, I have yet to bump into somebody else. But I also don't really like ask at the comic book stores like, "Hey, who's the most famous person that comes in?" Or, because you got to figure some of the comic book stores do have like a couple professionals that may shop there, but I never really ask. Figure like if they wanted to be known, they'd set up a signing or something like that. Comic book celebrity, it's funny. There's not too many people that would get noticed on the street. How do you feel about the prices artists like Jim Lee charge for commissions? I think it's fair. I think like whatever, it's not up to the artist in a lot of ways, you charge what it goes for, and you charge that because you have to limit how many you can make for commissions. So if people are going to pay up to a few thousand, that's the market, and that's not like that's not an artist trying to gouge you. If Jim Lee charged $10, he'd never be able to meet the demand, and he'd also, not be able to, create enough pieces. It's like, yeah, that's not fun. Like, maybe you're a bigger fan somehow and you don't have money, but I don't think that's like the creator's responsibility. So I think that charge whatever it goes for, and you've earned that because you've built up your audience and you've built up your talent So if you can bang out a drawing and there's an audience that's willing to pay thousands for it, more power to you. That's what I think. I have heard of Nathan Never, Alchem. I'm glad you enjoyed the Dylan Dog review. I have not read Nathan Never. I've heard of it. I've not read it. I hope I can someday. That would be nice. It can be very hard to keep up with foreign comics because you have to find a version that's translated. Like I do not speak Italian. I can't read Italian really. Anyway. Let's see. Jay Andrew says, I used to go to the comic shop where the Mirage Studio crew shopped at. It was in the basement of a funeral home. Oh, wow. That's weird. Yes, Seahawks, I did hear that George Perez is retiring. Sad, but I guess necessary. So, just hope his health overall holds out. As I understand it, it's more his vision failing that doesn't make him able to work at the level that he wants to. And I totally understand that. Unfortunately, that happens to a lot of artists. That is too bad. To sort of have something external stop you when you're not like necessarily ready to stop yourself. Yeah. Too bad. My favorite canceled comic as a kid was Alien Legion. Yeah, that would probably be a huge hit by today's standards, honestly. Like, was that Carl Potts, I think, was writing that? I'm pretty sure that was Carl Potts for Marvel's Epic line at the time. As an artist myself, how do you color? It's really hard, and I would like to know how you do it. Well, I don't consider myself a very good colorist per se, just because I really respect every role in comics, but I do make a point of working on absolutely every aspect. That's why I don't think I'm a very good inker per se, but I'm always trying to be better. I will, for fun, work with Copic markers because they blend well. That's fun to do right on the paper. And other than that, I use Photoshop. And all I can say there is, there's no quick lesson I can give there other than just to say there's so many great tutorials out there on YouTube. So I would just recommend watching some of those and being patient and getting yourself a very comfortable setup so that you don't give yourself carpal tunnel, because coloring is, like most things actually in comics, very slow and laborious process, and you don't want to cramp or hurt your hand up. So make sure it's comfortable. Toho is one of the first studios to create a shared cinematic universe. Totally right, James. They first crossed Godzilla and Mothra in the film Godzilla vs. the Thing. Yep. They were definitely pioneers in that regard. Pretty cool when you think about it. Something that every film studio would love to be successful at. And Marvel's figured out a way to do it successfully. But you know what the difference is? All it is it's like such a simple formula. You make one good movie at a time. That's it. Yeah, I have seen, Jay Andrew, how you use the brown paper texture. I really like it. Didn't realize you streamed as well. I'm a recent fan. Love the videos. Ghidorah looks great so far. Well, thank you. Yeah, I try to stream every once in a while so that I can just chat with all of you and get a sense of what people are interested in and see if they're demanding anything specific these days. And it's an excuse for me to doodle, maybe get a little better. I just love drawing, so just an excuse. If Comic Tropes ever got big enough, I'd probably stream on a separate channel, but I don't think that there's enough of an audience right now that anyone would care that I do it all on one channel. Hope. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody had asked me what movies I was most excited for in 2019, and I'll be honest, I couldn't really think of what's coming up right now, but since that question was asked, like, I'd definitely be curious what some of y'all's favorites are. And I don't blame you if you mention comic books. We're all in like a comic book headspace if we're watching this, but if you can think of anything aside from comics, I'd be especially interested in that, because I definitely can think of which comic book movies are coming out. I'm trying to think of like what else is coming out aside from that. Right now I'm just sort of drawing a little bit of a blank. Good night, everyone. See you in the next stream. See ya. What is this? Mix is looking forward to the next Tarantino film. Yeah, me too. I'll watch anything by Tarantino. Definitely like some more than others, but I pretty much always enjoy at least one time seeing that. Let's see. Simpsons and Scooby-Doo comics. Okay. Keep that in the back of my mind, man. Star Wars 9. Yeah, definitely looking forward to Star Wars. That's a good point. Which one is the Comic Tropes episode you're most proud of? It's an you know what? Steve Ditko. I really liked what I did with Steve Ditko because that I spent extra time researching, and he was a guy that inspired me, but I wasn't always a huge fan, and he's just an interesting individual. It just was a lot of material to talk about. So the one I'm most proud of would just probably be, I feel like I gave a fairly well-rounded presentation to Steve Ditko. That said, there are a couple mistakes. There's some mistakes in every episode I make. Seahawks does have Godzilla. Excuse me, Seahawks. Yes, Godzilla does have a three-headed dragon as his enemy, King Ghidorah. My favorite comic tropes is the Rob Liefeld one where you ate the peppers. That one definitely helped get me noticed. So I'm grateful for doing that one. I'm glad. I also really enjoyed personally making my episodes about lettering in comics and about distribution in comics. And they did fine. I wouldn't say either of those were humongous hits, but actually, in a way, the Ditko one isn't one of my biggest videos either. But those are some of the ones that I've been pretty happy with the final product. Oh, Brightburn. Yeah, Brightburn does look interesting, Jojo. Good question. King of the Monsters. Yeah, King of the Monsters comes out this year. Your channel is growing, and deservedly so. I just got back into comics last summer. Oh, cool. I'm glad that you're back into comics, Pete. I think that there's a lot to enjoy there. A lot to learn about. Hello, Bronze Age. Hello, Sigamigs. 3 comic book artists with a few line style that I will keep an eye on. Oh, yeah. Chris Samney, big fan. Leo Romero, I'm not too familiar with, but Evan Doc Shaner, definitely like appreciate Samney and Shaner. Definitely. Super, super big fan. I'll look up Leo Romero. Thank you. I've seen the first animated Godzilla movie on Netflix, David. I haven't seen the next 2. I need to at some point. I'm glad that so many of you enjoyed things like the lettering and distribution, since I like those too. I have not seen the Batman and Bill documentary. I believe it's on Hulu. I do not have Hulu. I really do want to see that. I do. I wanted to do an episode on Bill Finger. And that was something I'd sort of been planning since shortly after I started the channel. Maybe I should have prioritized it more, because once that documentary came out, I sort of felt like, people will just sort of think I'm copying that idea in a way, so I don't know. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie is a thing that's coming out this year? Yeah. The Marvel Exercises. Yes, thank you. I Personally, that one didn't get too many views, but I think that the one where I talk about superhero food recipes and have cosplayers do exercises to work off that food, I loved that episode. Like, to me, it's very conceptual. I totally understand that it's not for everybody, but I personally, that's my sensibility. That's my sense of humor. So, yeah. That one cracks me up personally. Any anime you would like to see? Yeah. If I had time, I would love to watch all of One Piece out of curiosity. I don't know when I'd have time to do that. I would like to see... I've only seen like about 2 episodes of My Hero Academia. I liked it okay. I'm really into the comics, so that's not a huge priority because it's pretty loyal, literal adaptation. But I would like to watch that if I had time. And then I'd love to discover more stuff. I'd love to discover like just whatever's popular. I'm always curious about to try to determine why it's popular and like what cultural relevance it has. Anyway, Detective Pikachu. What indie comic would you recommend? Well, what kind of comics do you like, actually, Al? Do you like crime comics? Do you like superhero comics? Like, what kind of comics do you like? Do you like sci-fi? See ya, Craig. Thanks for joining in. Photorealistic Sonic is the thing of madness. I haven't seen what it looks like, that movie. That sounds scary. Oh, I'll take a look on... When you say dropped it in the server, are you talking about Discord? Because if so, I'll definitely take a look at that, KNT. Ever heard of Zombie Tramp? No, I haven't. That one would be new. Craig Smallwood, great artist. Sorry, there's a lot to go. My favorite comic right now is One Punch Man. That is funny. Do you think you'll ever do a worst Batman run? Maybe. I don't have a... I'd have to think about that. There's definitely more stuff that I'd love to talk about for Batman, though. There's definitely plenty I'd like to talk about. My Hero Academia anime is worth watching for Chris Sabat's voice acting. He makes All Might come to life. I am here. Best Netflix series. That's a tough one. There's so many out there. Boy, that's a tough one. I don't know. Have you seen any of the Fire Festival documentaries? No, I haven't. Are any of them like funny or are they depressing? Rocket Man? Yeah, that could be an interesting biopic. Definitely. Punisher season 2 was so good. Oh, cool. I'm about halfway through it. I like it okay. That's cool to hear that you like it. I'm more or less like done, I think, for what I'm doing tonight with this drawing. So I'm just mostly answering some questions at this point, folks. Is Iron Fist Season 2 worth watching? Well, if you watch Season 1, it's definitely a lot better than Season 1. But you know who the characters are and you know what they do with it. I mean, he doesn't like wear... Well, no, I was going to say he doesn't wear his costume. He doesn't really wear his costume, so that's kind of frustrating. It's a lot better, but it isn't great. It depends on how much you like Iron Fist. I like Iron Fist, the character, a lot, so I was super curious, and I liked it okay, actually. I might be in the minority, I think, on that, but I kind of liked Iron Fist Season 2. I think it, like, ended in an awesome place. Sort of a cliffhanger, more of just, like, an opening up the world to what else they could do, and it really frustrates me that we probably won't get to see anymore. I did read the Snagglepuss Chronicles. It was amazing. It was definitely a runner-up for Best Series of 2019 from me. Did you hear about the book with Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie is coming? Did you hear about the book about the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie? No, definitely didn't hear anything about that, J. Andrew. I'd be curious. I remember being excited for that Punisher movie and kind of enjoying it for what it was. Tried to rewatch it recently, and it's actually not that bad, but it is slow, or compared to what we get today. It's a little slow because it's a low budget movie. Sideways is ending, and I was liking it quite a bit, but I'm going blind into Watchmen. Watchmen, totally worth reading, and especially worth rereading once you know a good amount about comic book history and sort of know what it's doing, because it's a deconstructionist tale. So it's very important to sort of have that perspective. What's your goal with comic tropes before you can use it as your primary income, or do you enjoy your other work well enough? No, I'm pretty much just doing my current job just to earn money, and it's a fine job, but it's not my dream at all. Um, if I could do comic tropes full time, I would definitely do more episodes. First of all, I would do more interviews. More, I don't really do any right now, I guess. Um, but that's something I do enjoy doing, and I have in the past with like podcasts and stuff. And I've got some bigger ideas for what I could do. It's beyond just interviewing. I've got some light documentary ideas about what I'd like to do with comic tropes, um, and and just keep spotlighting crazy, weird stuff and underrated, great stuff, and just talking about the history of the industry. Really. Yeah, so there's a lot I'd love to do with it. There's a lot that I'd love to do with comic tropes. We'll see. Of all fictional characters, what's the goal physique? Goal would probably have to be Captain America. He's perfection, right? Punisher book is in the editing phase. Carl Potts was interviewed, and he's trying to contact Brent Anderson. They did the comic adaptation. Well, that does sound cool. That sounds interesting. Have you heard of Mad Woman of the Sacred Heart by Mobius and Jodorowsky? Definitely have heard of it, Sigamigs. Have not read it. Jodorowsky is a guy that fascinated me for a long time, and unfortunately, I came across like some info about him that has really changed my mind as to like how I see him. I can't really claim to be a fan anymore. I still probably want to do an episode about his comics. I think that that's fairly important to address, but yeah, I can't claim to be a fan anymore. Rob Liefeld, Captain America physique? Absolutely, L.S. Krieger. You know what? I want my chest going out to like, let's say about here. Right about here would be my chest, and I'd just sort of be going like that. Like I think my chest could go out like this. That would look good. I'd love to see another interview with the real-life superhero. Can't remember his name. Phoenix Jones. He's not as active right now. So I don't know if I would have much to say, or if he would have much to say, is really what I mean. But maybe someday. It's not a no. There is more that I would like to do with that. There's a comic book that I want to make. There's several comic books that I want to make. There's a few that I've written that I want to make with finding a better artist than myself. And the right artist, not just the better artist, but like the right artist. And that's sort of the trick. I'd like to find somebody with that sort of like open but realistic line art style that appeals to me, like, you know, a Greg Smallwood or something like that. That would, yeah. We'll see. What creative team was your favorite on Amazing Spider-Man? Lee Ditko. They set the mold. They built an amazing template. So they're probably my favorite, but there've been others that I love. I reviewed the Craven's Last Hunt, so J.M. DeMatteis has a lot of great Spider-Man comics. I really liked the days with guys like Roy Thomas and John Romita Sr. There's so many great, amazing Spider-Man runs. Personally, I'm a pretty big fan of the Dan Slott run, actually. Do you like to watch Comic Book Men? Not really. I haven't seen it all. Comic Book Men, it's not bad. I just feel like it's very staged. Like, it doesn't feel very real, but it's trying to present itself like it's very real, and that kind of bothers me because I just feel like it gives a skewed perception of what comic books in a comic book store are. So that it probably bothers me a lot more than the next guy. I know that it's silly to be bothered by such things. It's reality TV. Very few of us believe that it's accurate. I just don't feel that it presents a great look to the mainstream audience. I'm doing all right, Jackson. I'm hanging in there. Did anyone watch the 90s Gamera movies? They're surprisingly dark and complex. I've seen one of them, Mojama, but I can't remember which one it was. Phoenix was on an episode of Comic Book Men, and in fact, in our interview, we discussed that. If I'm remembering correctly, and I'm pretty sure I am, the producer of that show reached out to me, and I put Phoenix in touch with them. I'm not sure if I actually addressed that in the interview or not. That's what I'm not sure if I remember. But yeah, a lot of people would reach out to me to get in touch with Phoenix at a certain point. Jerry Conway, Ross Andrew was a good run on Spider-Man. Totally agree. Did I ever read Shogun Warriors? No, actually, I have not. I'm very aware of it. Have not read that, James. It's bedtime for me. Yep, I'm about to take off too. Let's see. Any plans to do a Steranko episode? At some point, I probably will. I don't have a very clear idea in my head on what the angle there would be, but I probably would do a Steranko episode at some point. Most underrated radical reinvention of a hero. Electric Blue Superman, Azrael Batman, Angelic Ghostbuster Punisher. No, that was definitely not the best. Radical reinvention. I have to think about it. I'm trying to think of characters that have sort of been reinvented in a big way. I haven't read Heroes in Crisis, Jackson. Sorry. Don't have an opinion on that one. It's an interesting question, Spike, for radical reinvention. You know what's sort of underrated, actually, is in the 70s, they took away Wonder Woman's powers, and she became more of a judo spy, and it actually is a pretty cool comic for its time. But it wasn't popular, and I do understand why. You're sort of taking the most prominent female superhero and you're taking away her powers. I think it would have worked better if it was some other female character. But it's kind of an interesting reinvention, actually. Frankencastle. Oh, that's a great one, J. Andrew World. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rick Remender. I've said that many times before. I think Frankencastle is a great take on the Punisher. Totally different than what has happened before, yet it relies on who Punisher is, gives him an arc, and then when he was done, he basically reset things to the status quo, because that's just how you have to do things in Marvel. So that was cool. A lady who's a cop? That's a pretty radical idea there. Yeah, Seahots, I know what you're talking about. There's a lot of casual racism in Golden Age comics. It can be pretty depressing. Anyway. Well, I didn't really finish this. I think you guys sort of get the idea of what I was going for. I mean, he'd need another wing here, and I'd need to finish this head, but I'm kind of getting burnt out. Would I ever do a video on my comic collection? I don't really have it anymore, Seahots, so unfortunately that's not really something I can do. I moved across the coast 5 years ago, and I sold pretty much my entire collection. I sold 30 long boxes of comics. So while I have some stuff that's still it means something to me personally. Like, I kept The Tick, I kept some early Ninja Turtles. I think I kept maybe like the first few issues of either G.I. Joe or Transformers, because that's just sort of what my entry point was. And I kept some comics that obviously I worked on or my friends have worked on. So I kept some stuff, but I don't have much of a collection at all anymore. Sold it all. Would I ever consider doing a video on the Comics Journal? Probably not, only because Cartoonist Kayfabe seems to have started doing that, and I don't want to step on any toes. If somebody else is doing that exact content, probably not, unless there's sort of an era that they're not going to touch, and then I might consider doing that. Unless you mean just a single video for comic tropes, in which case I guess I'd do that. I guess I'm not thinking things through straight. I would consider doing a single episode on what Comics Journal and some of those magazines were. That's not a bad idea. I've not heard of Rebel Taxi, I'm sorry. Any plans to do an episode on Bone, Cerebus, or any other landmark independent comics before 2000s? I enjoyed the Scud episode and it got me interested in them. Yes, Mojama. Just like I've done X month, I am going to do an Indie Titans month at some point this year. Not like February, probably not March, but it is something I'm going to do. I'm going to do an Indie Titans. I'm going to talk about Jeff Smith and Bone. I'm going to talk about Dave Sim and Cerebus. You have to. I'm probably going to cover somebody like maybe like Dave Lapham with Stray Bullets. So some, self-published indie stuff specifically. So I'll get there. I don't want to talk about Comicsgate and diversity in comics. I'm about to wrap up this stream, and that's a big, loaded question. So I just don't have enough time to get into any of that right now, because I'm really just about to sign off. Red Sonja or Vampirella. Yeah, maybe I should try to draw one of those sometime. That could be fun. And I'm gonna make more drinks on Halloween. Maybe I should. That was people asked earlier, like, what episodes am I proud of? That episode is paced very differently than most of the other things that I've done, but I did have a blast making Halloween-themed drinks. I really did. I don't know Fellini's comics work. I will look that up. You guys have tons of great questions. I sincerely appreciate it. I got to get going. I've still got to work on the next Comic Tropes episode for all of y'all. It is getting late, and I've got work first thing in the morning. I will try to do another live stream as soon as possible so that I can answer some more questions. I love talking to all of you. It's a blast. It's a blast. And I didn't really even finish this drawing here. Last time I finished Desatoroya, so yeah, sort of can get an idea of like where I would have gone with shading. Like over time, I would have just like started blacking in a lot of this stuff. So, all right, folks, I had a good time talking to everybody. Take care. Keep reading comics.